the headlines of this hour on VTV News. SBV to conduct first gold bullion auction in over a decade. And WHO supports Vietnam's fight against tuberculosis. And in our world news, emergency meeting held over rising tensions in the Middle East.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is 3 p.m. local time and you're watching VTV News. I'm Huyen Tan with the top stories. The State Bank of Vietnam, or SBV, announced on Monday morning that it will organize a gold bullion auction. This is the first move by the SBV in 11 years to increase market supply and reduce the gap between domestic and international gold prices. The price difference continues to widen and sometimes reaching nearly $800 per tael. Currently, 26 credit institutions and gold trading businesses have expressed interest in the gold auction. And among them, 15 have sent letters of interest to the SBV to participate in the auction. According to the initial announcement, the gold bullions to be auctioned by the SBV will be SJC gold. The bidding principle operates from high to low, and utilizing this auction to supply gold bullion is seen as an effective method to narrow the disparity between domestic and international gold prices in alignment with the Prime Minister's directive. Ho Chi Minh City has recognized green growth as a strategic direction for future development, aiming to transition towards a green economy and carbon neutrality. To accomplish this objective, city officials are focusing on prioritizing assistance for businesses committed to green production.
This business adeptly utilizes Ho Chi Minh City's incentives for green enterprises. Leveraging city support policies, it has made efforts to implement a green transformation, invest in technological innovation, and apply green criteria in production and business. In particular, it has prioritized the adoption of renewable energy, leading the charge in the transition away from fossil fuels.
The cornerstone of green transformation lies in technological advancements, investment in robust management systems, and fostering a skilled, collaborative workforce. Training is essential, requiring perseverance to drive superior system development.
The plastic recycling industry has been labeled as polluting the environment, but thanks to Ho Chi Minh City's supportive policies, this business will erase that prejudice. It bravely committed $60 million to establish a bottle-to-bottle technology factory, enabling up to 50 cycles of plastic bottle reuse and striving for top-tier green manufacturing.
As the world progresses towards sustainability, businesses need green certifications to export to the US or Europe. This requirement underscores that the green economy is no longer a mere desire, but an imperative as we engage in the global arena.
Embracing net zero is both a duty and an opportunity for the business sector. With Ho Chi Minh City rolling out numerous supportive policies, those leading the charge in green transformation stand to gain the most.
Since October 2020, the city has issued a plan that includes 56 programs and 30 projects to achieve this goal. The city also wants to cooperate with international organizations to secure more international resources.
In 2024, Ho Chi Minh City will prioritize the establishment of comprehensive and pragmatic policy frameworks that align closely with real-world conditions.
With nearly 70 suppliers participating, an increase of 10 businesses compared to last year, many new product groups have been added to the price stabilization list for the new season. Prices of products are adjusted to decrease by 2 to 7% or maintain the registered price like last year. However, prices in the stabilization program are still guaranteed to be 5 to 10% lower than market prices. These are some new points in the market stabilization program recently announced by the Ho Chi Minh City People's Committee.
Laptops, desktops and printers are some of the new items added to the price stabilization list in large quantities. According to this retailer, entering the second quarter, consumer shopping baskets decreased by over 10% and focused only on food and essential products.
We select over 1,000 products, mainly essential items such as vegetables, rice, cooking oil, sugar, and salt, to stabilize the price. Every 2 weeks, we increase the discount stockpile by 20 to 30%.
Another new addition to this year's program is that Ho Chi Minh City will support businesses in terms of rental prices, transportation during peak hours, and branding. These businesses will also be connected to support programs such as those facilitating the supply and demand of goods, credit, tourism promotion, and cooperation with localities in key economic regions.
We advise the City People's Committee to upgrade from a plan to an implementation regulation. The distributors, state management agencies, and manufacturing enterprises have all agreed to maintain the price of essential commodities.
Compared to 2023, the number of goods on the price stabilization list has increased by 4 to 6%.
Now, despite being a latecomer to the World Trade Organization, or WTO, Vietnam currently ranks 12th among countries that conduct the most investigations into trade defense cases, with 2 to 3 cases initiated by businesses each year. This shows that Vietnamese businesses are becoming increasingly adept at using this tool to protect domestic production.
This fertilizer manufacturing plant was once protected by safeguard measures, a trade defense tool applied when imported goods cause serious harm to domestic production. As a result, what was once a company facing millions of US dollars in losses gradually turned profitable. Thorough research into trade defense measures has helped protect businesses against excessive fertilizer stockpiles flooding into Vietnam at unusually low prices, inciting unhealthy competition.
Instances of dumping in Vietnam have been revealed. Therefore, we are coordinating with lawyers to gather data as a basis for anti-dumping lawsuits against fertilizer imports into Vietnam.
Vietnam's sugar industry is protected through anti-dumping and countervailing measures against Thai sugar. Companies have experience proving violations of imported sugar.
Our sugar mills have collaborated to provide evidence and relevant information regarding smuggling and dumping within the country and region.
According to the Trade Remedies Authority of the Ministry of Industry and Trade, domestic enterprises have now become adept at using trade defense tools, and tangible effectiveness can be seen.
In industries involved in international trade, businesses are most knowledgeable about the procedures for applying trade defense measures. Currently, most trade remedy investigations against Vietnam are in steel, chemical, plastic, and rubber products.
Some enterprises are still hesitant to use trade defense measures due to concerns about disclosing business secrets. The Ministry of Industry and Trade assures enterprises that they can use these tools confidently. The information is independently provided to lawyers and investigative agencies and is used solely to protect the common interests of the manufacturing industry.
The Mekong Delta is now in the durian harvest season, but there has been a sharp decrease in purchase prices. At the start of the season, traders were freely paying high prices for young durians, with Re6 durians priced around $4.7 per kilo and a month-long durians at about $6.7 per kilo. However, the price of durians in Phom Dien district has now significantly decreased and stabilized, ranging from $3.1 to $3.6 per kilo. While demand has slowed down, durian growing remains profitable. According to orchard owners, during the durian season, there have been instances where traders have withdrawn deposits or haggled over prices or harvested unripe fruits. Now, in response to this situation, the district has directed communes and towns to closely monitor the durian trade. Local businesses have also continued to promote the signing of consumption contracts, committing to fulfilling their responsibilities towards the farmers. The government has just issued a plan to implement Power Plan 8, which emphasizes the role of renewable energy sources. The domestic and international business community has responded positively to this plan and expects to soon have a mechanism for buying, selling, transmitting, and distributing renewable energy. They also anticipate a method for effectively utilizing this clean energy source while still ensuring the safety of the national power system, especially as renewable energy sources depend heavily on natural factors such as weather.
Many solar and wind power plants in Ningtuan province are experiencing difficulties connecting to the grid due to transmission line congestion. Meanwhile, businesses in Bà Rịa Vũng Tàu require renewable energy to greenify their production lines, but cannot find a source.
We need to use renewable energy, so we are switching to solar power sources to meet the green economy criteria that the group has set out.
Businesses are also concerned about the unstable output of renewable energy sources.
There needs to be a mechanism to make up for energy loss when the source of renewable energy is low to ensure the stability of production activity.
These problems have slowed down consumption and investment in renewable energy. Therefore, the government's issuance of Power Plan 8 in early April has been highly appreciated by the business community.
Many Japanese companies are waiting for the Vietnamese government's policy. So that announcement is very good sign for many companies to do the next step.
The promulgation of Power Plan 8 at this time will accelerate the development process for the electricity trading mechanism. With these, more businesses will achieve 100% use of renewable energy.
According to Power Plan 8, by 2030, renewable energy will comprise 30% of the power source structure.
Now let's take a look at the foreign exchange rate of today, April 15th. Coming up next on VTV News. Urgent repairs underway for collapsed Bãi Gió railway tunnel. And WHO supports Vietnam's fight against tuberculosis. Welcome back to VTV News. Now 5 days have passed since the collapse of the railway tunnel between Phú Yên and Khánh Hòa provinces. Dozens of officials and workers started drilling surveys on Sunday night, aiming to promptly address the situation. The first drilling at the collapse point of the Bãi Gió railway tunnel through the Cat Pass was completed on Monday morning. This drilling is over 23 meters deep and has a diameter of 9 centimeters. The construction units are expected to pump concrete into the first drilling hole by early Monday afternoon. Now, after 8 hours, the concrete should set and adhere to the soil and rocks. The construction units will then remove the collapsed soil and rocks from the tunnel. 2 more drilling operations are currently underway, with one already reaching a depth of 9 meters, and about 200 workers remain on site to expedite the repair process. The dry season is severely affecting Kamau. Some villages on the outskirts are facing water shortages, disrupting the daily lives of local residents. Canals are dried up and the soil is cracking. People can walk on the canal beds. Areas for cultivating rice and flowers are almost completely dry. Forecasts suggest that rice cultivation areas will be severely affected if there is no rain when the new planting season approaches. In Hamlet 3, An Xuyên commune, nearly 450 households rely on well water. Now authorities are urgently upgrading the rural clean water supply system, repairing and drilling new family-scale wells and centralized water supply points. Residents of the South Central Coast are grappling with significant water shortages for domestic use. Now, this issue is particularly prevalent in mountainous regions where the operation and maintenance of water supply systems are limited. In response to the drought, locals have taken an active role in managing and distributing water in a reasonable and economical way. Our story comes from a mountainous commune in Khánh Hòa province.
Kamau has been operating the water supply system for over 5 years. He's a member of the 7-person operation team in Liên Sang Commune, Khánh Vĩnh District, Khánh Hòa Province. As a red light resident of the commune, he promptly assists any households experiencing issues.
I have accurate maps of the water line, so I know how the water flows from one valve to another.
Although the communal water supply system has a capacity of 250 square meters per day, it's currently running at 180 square meters per day during this dry season. Despite this, the system is still able to provide sufficient water to 500 local households.
We primarily focus on maintaining the water source for the supply plant. We dredge to clear the water source.
In Liên Sang Commune, the locals' participation in operating the water project has received consensus in the community. The red light people agree with the price of 12 cents per cubic meter. The fees encourage people to use water in an economical way.
We use water sparingly so that we have enough for cooking and daily use.
The state invests in the project, and then local residents contribute by paying water bills. They have gradually raised their awareness of water-saving habits.
The team has visited each household to check for any damaged water pipes, remind them to store water according to distributed schedule, and use water economically. These efforts have helped maintain the water supply and provide local residents with ample water during this dry season.
Vietnam is among 30 high tuberculosis burden countries in the world, according to the WHO Global Tuberculosis Report 2023. The country has risen from 16th to 11th place among nations with the most tuberculosis patients globally and almost ranks 11th for multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. To cope with this situation, Prime Minister Phie has issued a dispatch urging ministries, sectors, and central and local authorities to thoroughly implement the National Tuberculosis Prevention and Control Strategy. And to understand more about Vietnam's efforts, our reporter Lina Pham sat down with WHO representative in Vietnam on this issue.
Well, first of all, Dr. Angela Pratt, thank you very much for joining us. Can you give us an overall situation of tuberculosis in Vietnam?
Almost 200,000 people are newly infected with this condition every year. So that's a very significant number. 11,000 people die from this condition every year. 4 in every 10 people with TB don't know it. Around 10,000 children are newly infected with TB every year in Vietnam. Many of the children who are infected with tuberculosis are not diagnosed. That's because paediatricians are not always aware that this is something they need to test for and to look out for. Similarly, the issue of drug resistance. The government of Vietnam has shown very strong leadership on tuberculosis from the top levels of the government, the Prime Minister, all the way through. So I really want to commend the government for its leadership and its commitment, and in particular its commitment at the highest levels to coordinating all of the different sectors and ministries that need to play a role in addressing this challenge.
So what are the solutions to the existing problems of tuberculosis management in Vietnam?
The first one is that we need to find everyone who has TB and get them onto treatment. So we need to make more efforts in what we call active case finding, getting out into the community, getting people screened, diagnosed, and then if they have the infection, quickly getting them onto treatment. The financing, for example, that's one of the big challenges we need to address to make sure everybody can access the treatment regardless of their ability to pay. That requires the finance ministry to be involved, not just the health ministry. So we really welcome the government's very strong show of leadership as included in that recent dispatch.
So what do you think about the role of hospitals at communal level in terms of early detection?
Typically, most of the treatment for TB at the moment happens in hospitals. But we know there's not always a hospital very close to where people live. It's the commune health station that is typically closest to where people live. So if we can equip commune health stations with commune health workers with the knowledge to look out for the symptoms, the resources to be able to do the initial screening, and then refer on if need be, I think that will make a very big difference.
And once again, thank you for the insightful information you gave us today.
My pleasure.
Recently, 22 new caves were discovered in Quảng and an additional 3 caves were surveyed, totaling over 3,500 meters in length. This discovery is the result of a collaborative cave exploration expedition between United Kingdom and Vietnamese cave experts, along with the management board of Phong Nha Kẻ Bàng National Park. The depths of these caves range from 30 to 570 meters, while the heights of the cave entrances reach up to 550 meters and depths up to 154 meters. These caves all boast unique features from their shapes to their landscapes. In-depth surveys and studies are necessary to ascertain their value, allowing for accurate planning for conservation and exploitation efforts. The Water Splashing Festival of the Lao ethnic people commenced on Monday morning in Nasang Wan village, Điện Biên District, Điện Biên Province. This is part of activities being held for the National Tourism Year Điện Biên 2024 and to celebrate the upcoming 70th anniversary of the Điện Biên Phủ victory. This traditional festival, also the main annual event, is an occasion for people to pray for favorable rain, gentle wind, abundant harvest, thriving life, and development. With this, they can let go of the misfortunes of the old year and welcome a new year filled with luck for all members, families, and communities. This is also an opportunity for the Lao ethnic people to remind their descendants and the community to always unite and preserve the beautiful traditional culture. The Water Splashing Festival of the Lao ethnic people has been included in the list of National Intangible Cultural Heritage by the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism since 2017. As Hung King's Commemoration Day approaches, many tourists have flocked to the Hung Temple, the historical relic area in Phu Thọ province. These days, night tours have become highlights of the site, along with numerous activities organized to appeal to visitors across the country. The careful preparation of the program has left a good impression on tourists.
During the Hung King's Temple Night Tour, visitors will ascend hundreds of stone steps from the temple gate. There, they will engage in the worship of the Hung Kings and appreciate the beauty of various relic signs. Their journey begins at the lower temple and upper temples and concludes at the Giếng Temple.
The organizers have meticulously prepared beautiful lanterns, creating a shimmering atmosphere at night distinct from daytime tours. The festival is well prepared, boasting a clean and beautiful environment.
Like tourists across the country, Phu Thọ's residents are also excited to experience the Hung Temple Night Tour. The serene and mysterious Nghĩa Lĩnh Forest helps visitors connect deeply with their ancestral roots.
This year's tour is attracting numerous tourists from all over, so we plan to continue holding night tours in the following years.
Along with the success of the Hung Temple Night Tour, Phu Thọ Province has recently launched a tour titled Returning to the UNESCO Heritage Site. The tour begins at the Hung Temple and then continues to other attractions within the province. These tours are expected to promote the competitive advantages of the province in spiritual cultural tourism, ecological tourism, and school tourism.
Coming up next in our world news. Emergency meeting held over rising tensions in the Middle East. And airlines cancel flights due to Iran attacks. Now moving on to our world news. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting on Sunday over Iran's unprecedented drone and missile attack on Israel. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres noted that the people of the region are confronting the real danger of a devastating full-scale conflict. He called for a maximum restraint by all parties. According to Guterres, Israel convened the emergency meeting. Now, as for Iran, the country announced that the attack on Israeli military targets was to exercise the right to self-defense stated in the UN Charter, and in response to the Israeli terrorist attack on Iran's consulate building in Syria on April 1st. Immediately following the retaliatory missile and drone attacks, the Israeli Prime Minister convened the War Cabinet at the Ministry of Defense headquarters to discuss urgent countermeasures. UN Secretary General also reiterated the international community's shared responsibility to ensure an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza, guarantee the delivery of aid without interruption, ensuring adequate and timely assistance. Many airlines have had to cancel flights or avoid Iranian and Israeli airspace due to escalating tensions in the Middle East. Emirates Airlines, the largest airline in the Middle East, announced the cancellation of some flights and the rerouting of others due to the new tensions between Iran and Israel. The German national airline group Lufthansa announced the cancellation of flights to Amman, Jordan, Beirut, Lebanon, and Israel, at least until Monday. Many other airlines also noted that they are closely monitoring the situation in the Middle East and are shifting to other routes to ensure the safety of passengers and crew. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has requested that Australian flags nationwide be flown at half-mast on Monday in memory of the 6 victims of Saturday's stabbing attacks. The Sydney Opera House will also illuminate its sails in black starting at 6 p.m. local time on Monday. Millions of Australians are paying their respects to the victims of this tragic event. The Australian federal government views these actions as expressions of condolence and respect for the victims. Previously, 6 bystanders were fatally stabbed at a shopping mall in Sydney on Saturday. Australian police have identified a 40-year-old man suffering from mental illness and seemingly targeting women as the attacker. Many schools in Belgium are organizing outdoor lessons with the aim of stimulating creativity and comprehensive development for students. This new classroom space allows pupils to get fresh air and learn in a different way. More on this in the following story.
This morning, a special lesson was held for 25 schoolchildren from the village of Vezin, central Belgium. The geometry lesson took place in a vast green space, a 10-minute walk from their school.
You'll be able to travel, as you know, to the edge of the woods. So, I'm asking you to find 2 elements that are symmetrical. You are in teams, and you can call on other teams if there are any concepts you don't remember.
Squatting on the grass at the edge of the woods, children form outlines of different shapes with the newly collected twigs.
Here we've made a hexagon. Here we've made a pentagon. And here we've made a square, a rectangle.
This lesson is part of School from Outside, a program that is gaining popularity in Belgium. Each week, students take a few lessons outdoors for about an hour and a half. The children are immersed in nature and gain a better learning experience, as well as improved memory.
They learn differently, and it stays that way. They absorb all the things they can learn here much better, thanks to their senses. They learn through touch, smell, sight, and hearing. So, it stays with them. And they also learn without realizing it sometimes.
The COVID-19 pandemic and associated quarantine protocols have spurred the expansion of outdoor schools. Over the past 2 years, schools primarily from the Walloon region, focusing on preschool and primary education, have trialed these methods. Presently, the challenge lies in the shortage of pedagogical staff familiar with this approach. To address this, the Walloon government is keen on bolstering appropriate pedagogical skills training for teachers to cater to the growing demands of these schools.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app at VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel, VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.